Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to The Outsiders. This week's Moment in Roleplay video is all about confidence and doubt. We all have it as DMs at some point. There are two reasons why we're going to start looking at confidence first. Recently I conducted a survey and from over 350 replies, 7% of those people surveyed had confidence issues. Of course, confidence is one of the key issues when you're talking about brand new GMs to our hobby, and even some experienced GMs suffer from it from time to time. So it does make sense to start there. So what I've done is I've created a self-confidence and doubt chart. It's actually very handy indeed actually, because this covers all the key areas that you can suffer issues with, and I'll just quickly go around the chart while you familiarise yourself with it. Obviously it'll give you an opportunity as well. You can freeze frame, take a copy, whatever you need, and if you do want an actual physical copy of the chart, you're more than welcome. Just email me. My email address is Sean, SEAN.Connors, CONNORS 45 at iCloud.com. I'll be happy to send one on to you. Short answer to any confidence issues is, are you able to do this? And the ultimate answer will of course be yes. But we've got to get you to that point. So let's look at each of the areas that exist in here. Oh, and by the way, in case you're wondering, have we all faced every single one of these doubts and confidence issues in here as a GM? I think we'd be lying if we said we hadn't. So you're not alone. That's another thing to remember. We've all been there. Let's take one of the areas around the edge. I'll just quickly go through them. There's, am I ready? Can I do it? Will I be successful? Am I able to do it? Am I good enough? Will I make it? You'll notice we take, am I ready? Really, what does this relate to really? It's physical, generally it's physical preparation. So physical preparation takes many forms. We're never going to be able to cover them all off in this video, but hopefully we give you a big enough snippet to make sense. That could be knowing the rules. That's one of the most common issues really for new GMs, not really feeling confident around the physical preparation of knowing the rules. Try to know what you need to know. I mean, that may sound odd, but you know, if the game's going to involve combat, you need to know those rules. If you haven't got anybody in your group who has no magical capability, you don't need to know those rules. So you try to, if you like, you're trying to quickly batten down what's critical. If you think that on that particular night the characters are going to do something which might mean knowing, for example, jumping rules or swimming rules or anything at all, then you pre-look them up and give yourself like a little index card, or maybe you can bookmark it in a PDF so you've got it to hand when you need it because you know it's coming up, you're easy to find the page. All these little tips and tricks that you can do. Sometimes I like to bookmark the actual book itself. I colour code it. I'm a bit odd like that sometimes, and that works for me. So I might have skills in green, I might have combat stuff in red. You know, it's whatever works for you to easily find things for that given night. So that's a physical side. It could be the story. Now that's one of the other big issues when you talk about physical preparation. A lot of new GMs feel they have to write their own material. That's actually wrong. And this can be also quite important for experienced GMs. They feel they've got to write their own material because it feels like a failure if you haven't. And it's none of those things, because for a new GM particularly, you're opening yourself up to a whole can of worms of things that you still haven't got the knowledge around, that are going to make you doubt yourself and are going to give you these confidence issues. So I'd suggest at the beginning as a new GM, just take a step back, get something that's pre-made for you, cut your teeth on that to start, build up your confidence to the point where you're ready to write your own material, and then you go for it and you push your own private envelope out as far as you can. But any time you falter, just come back to route one. Just pick something that's pre-made for you. It's going to do all the heavy lifting and it's going to save you a lot of aggravation for the physical preparation of the game. And it means all you've got to know is the flow of the story, and then you'll learn some tricks to help yourself if the players derail it. And there are enough of us out there to come back to should things like that occur. I think one of the best things I've seen, one of the really, really good ways of dealing with forum sites is, for example, Paizo Games. So when you are running one of their paths, the adventure paths that they do, Rise of the Runelorn springs to mind. So there's a particular piece in there where the players derail quite a lot of the time. It's going to have been talked about heavily on their forum boards. You're going to be able to check this out ahead of the game. So you're going to be able to see areas where the game got derailed, and you're going to be able to account for other GM's experience, and they're going to give you some great guidelines to help you. So remember that a lot of confidence, it's like having DMs in the room without them being there. Don't forget the resources around you that can support you through the preparation side of it. And you don't get too bogged down with thinking that you've got to come up with great voices or acting skill to start. Cut your teeth, build into it slowly. Don't set any high expectations and let it form organically. For this next segment, we're going to look at strategy here. This is the am I able to, will I be successful, and can I do it? You'll notice that am I able to straddles technique and strategy. But for the purpose of this little piece, we're going to talk about strategy. This is mental strategy. We've talked about physical strategy. You've got to have a mental strategy before going in, I think, for a new GM. Even some experienced GMs struggle with the mental aspect of the game. Often, confidence is one of the reasons why people drop out. They've had a bad experience, knocked their confidence, and bang, they're gone. And this may only form, or so it would seem, 7% of the chart, but I actually think it's a much higher percentage for one of the reasons why people drop out of the game. I think it forms a huge reason why. So I always talk for experienced GMs about having the right stuff. That's the thick skin, the elastic band mentality. You find with GMing, it's a Marmite experience. You love it or you hate it. Now, if you hate it, you'll find that out by trying it out. The fact that you tried is success, because we hope, like anybody, that if you're not going to GM, you play. And by experiencing the GMing side of things, what then happens is you have much more respect for the GM. You understand what goes into it, and you can support them more. And you'll find, because you're taking over the role of the GM, there are players around your table who will be able to give you that invisible arm round the shoulder, pat on the back stuff. They know what you're going through, and they will guide and help you through this. So lean on them and utilise the experience around that table to help where it's applicable. Put strategies in place where certain players can take away some of the issues you feel confidence-wise. Maybe that is looking rules up. We'll have somebody to do that for you at a split second if you need to. Why take the burden on? Or maybe more importantly, things like, you want someone to run the initiative. I see no harm in it, as long as the flow of the game isn't too heavily affected and you're finding your feet. You're a new GM. You're allowed to ask for these things. Why not? So, when you're new, tell them you're new. This is another great thing. It's really important that people understand. I'm a new GM. I've only been doing this for a short time. I haven't had much time in it. And what is a short time? Actually, a few years is not long at GMing. Getting a couple of years under your belt is really only the beginning of this. So you're still relatively new. Once you get outside a couple of years, you've got some skills in place. You've got some strategies in place that you're building on. You can then take it into another phase. But at this side, don't be afraid to use the new card. Throw it in. I am new. You'll find people more supportive when people are open about it, and that will help you, and that will guide you through the early phases of being a newish DM. So, in short, and to sum up this, I want to show you something. So when you look in the mirror, what you want to see back is the reflection of a lion. You want to realise that the metaphor really here is the fact that you're able to become a GM. When you look in that mirror, it doesn't matter what you think of yourself. The perception of you and what you give out is the fact that you've now made it. You can do this. And if you're able to achieve that, project the fact that you're able to GM. Do you know what? Funny enough, you will be able to. And that's exactly what people will remember, the fact that you are a GM. And in time, you'll be able to develop your own way of doing this, your own style and your own thought processes, because you know you can and want to be able to do this. Now, when you're an experienced GM and who's lost their way a little, and you look out from the mirror, because that's what you are, you're a lion looking in, you only see a kitten. You've lost confidence. So again, it's taking the steps back that are necessary that you'll see throughout this video, putting them into place to once again, you're able to take the necessary steps forward with confidence to remember, yeah, I'm a bloody good GM, I'm a lion, and I know I can do this. Small blip does not mean that's the end for me. It's still only the beginning. A psychologist once told me that when you're dealing with confidence issues with people, one of the best things you can do is for them to sit down and actually write down what they feel good about when they're doing something and what they don't feel so good about when they're doing something. And I agree, in this case it makes sense, because what you would do is look at where that falls into the pie chart, if you want, the circle of confidence, and that will give you a good guide as to the areas that you need to focus on, whether you're an experienced GM or just starting out. So I thought I'd mention that here before moving on to the final two pieces. So let's look at technique next. By now you should realise that this is the part that falls under am I able to and am I good enough? And of course the short answer is, of course, you must realise now that you are. You will realise that GMing is a marathon. It's not a sprint. There's no race here. This is a game played over years, not days, not weeks, not even months. It's a long-term commitment. You will make lifetime's friends from this, and those friends will help you grow. And as you grow, your technique will improve. There will be stumbles. Occasionally, even the most experienced GM confidence will get knocked. But as long as you remember the journey you've been on, the positives that you take out of it, remembering the word confident, and how you can apply what you've done well over that time to the word, you can bounce back and deliver another cracking performance. Mental toughness is the final part. That's the bit that's, am I good enough or will I make it? I've said that there are three bits to this, really. The first part is to realise that the GM's role is a bit like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. Now, I'm assuming at this point you really do think you love it and it's something you want to do. Because if that's the case, you're already halfway there. You know, you really are close. The other part to this is the thick-skin, elastic-band mentality. The ability to realise that things are going to happen along the journey. That's why I use the circle analogy a lot here. And the I, in this case, is reflective. You're looking in on yourself here with confidence and doubt. And you realise that things will happen in that journey that are going to knock you a little bit. They're going to make you think, oh, was it good enough? Why did that person not like it? What happened? These are little steps in the long journey that will come. The GMing journey that you're on. You will make friends along the way. You will create worlds that did not exist. You will do things that will blow away the players at that table and have them talking for the rest of their lives. There is no greater compliment that comes from GMing than that. To have people turn up and talk to you about something that happened many years before, or maybe even just happened last week. It is the greatest thrill that comes out of our hobby, and it's got to be one of the greatest things to realise that is within reach when you look in at that mirror. It's there to be seen, and anybody can do this.